Oh, hello. Is that Mr. Peter Baker?
It's Peter Baker, yeah.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Baker. My name's Mrs. Hicks. I'm the manager at the Jobcenter. I've had a message to call you.
Oh, yeah. What was your second name again, sorry?
Hicks, Mrs. Hicks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I seem to have an issue with one of the staff by the name of Sam.
Yeah.
She's under the illusion that in the terms of my job seekers agreement, I'm obliged to provide evidence to A4E, the work program provider. I'm actually looking at the agreement right now, and it doesn't state that. And I want to prove it, you see, because she's informed me that she's going to sanction me.
Right. With regards to sanctions and your job seekers agreement, what you're obliged to do for ourselves is to prove your conditionality to receive job seekers allowance.
I do
So
that
that
every
would
time I
be-
go to the job centre, you see.
So when you come into the job centre, yeah, you've got to provide proof of what you've been doing to be available and actively seeking work, and that can be either written or verbal, or if you're on Universal Job Match, that could be through your UJ account. So that's the proof that you're obliged to provide for ourselves when you attend your job search review every fortnight. In terms of the evidence for the work programme provider whilst you're on that course, that would be determined by the work programme provider. You've got to participate in that programme, again, as a condition of receiving your job seekers allowance.
Well, you see, that's not actually on the agreement either.
Well, they will impose whatever it is that they feel will move you closer to getting a job. It's whatever reasonable to help you get work is what the work programme will expect you to do.
Yeah, you see.
So that could be that you're going, that they're referring you on some sort of training course, or I can see that you haven't got a UJ account. It could be that they send you on a course that will help you get a UJ account because that will improve your job search prospects. Or it could be that you're referred to do some work experience if you've not worked for a while. So it's whatever is reasonable to move you, as I say, towards getting a job. That's what the work programme will expect of you.
Yeah, you see, the job seekers agreement actually says that my benefits will be affected only if I don't follow my obligations in the agreement, and most of what you've just said isn't actually in the agreement, and it's a breach of
that's in
contract
terms
law.
of, the job seekers agreement is linked to the conditionality of job seekers allowance, so that is the actively seeking and availability aspect of job seekers allowance. Your job seekers allowance can also be called into question if you don't participate in one of our mandatory programmes, and at the moment for yourself that's work programme. So there's a participation element to job seekers allowance receipt as well as the availability and actively seeking, which is linked to the job seekers agreement. So your job seekers allowance is paid to you on condition of several things, not just job seekers agreement and availability and actively seeking employment.
Wouldn't I have to agree to those terms as well? Wouldn't I need to know about them?
Well, as I say, in terms of what's been agreed, that's between yourself and your work programme provider. As I say, that's not a finite list of things. That is, as I say, that's individual and based on whatever it is that's needed to get you towards work, and that will vary from individual to individual. So there's never a finite list of what it is that the work programme will expect of you. That will be down to individuals because everyone's at different levels in terms of skills and abilities to get a job.
Yeah.
So that would be something that you would...
As far as I'm aware, under contract law, my only obligations are to the agreement unless the agreement states that there are further conditions.
You're talking about the job seekers agreement?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're right. That's the documents that then we look at in terms of whether you've satisfied the actively seeking and availability. Whereas I say job seekers allowance conditionality also includes mandatory participation on one of our programmes, and that's what you're linked into at the moment with the work programme. That is a mandatory programme that if you don't fulfil the requirements whilst on that programme can also call into doubt your entitlement to job seekers allowance.
Yeah, you see, under on the job seekers agreement, that would have to link to it. If it's not on the agreement, you see, it wouldn't apply.
No, that's not correct. You've actually been mandatory referred to a programme which then has different criteria other than the job seekers. Everything doesn't just hinge on your job seekers agreement. So there's other elements So for yourself, you've been referred on a mandatory referral to a work programme, so that is then legally binding in terms of applying the conditionality to your job seekers allowance.
What exactly makes it mandatory? Because last time I checked under contract law, I've got to actually accept it.
This was the government programme that came out just over 2 years ago, the work programme. So that's what made it legally binding. It went through all of the legislation and it passed all of the legislation to say that it was mandatory for customers that reach a certain point in their unemployment, and that failure to comply would then have consequences, potentially.
But you see, the issue I've got is my agreement was signed before the Welfare Rights Act came in.
Yeah, it's your job seekers agreement you're talking about. You don't actually have to sign an agreement to go to the work programme to say that's mandatory. So you don't sign to say that you agree to go. I'm afraid that once you reach a certain point in your unemployment, you're automatically referred.
Okay, well, I need to get my hands on these further terms because I wasn't actually disclosed with this information, which is actually classed as fraud.
Right, well, you can do that research yourself, as I say. It's legislation, it's there for anybody to research themselves if they want to do that.
Yeah, I've actually done all of the research, and it doesn't actually link to this job seekers agreement, which is actually, it is my only obligation. I've actually sought independent advice about it.
Okay, well, I just need to make you aware that, you are on this programme, you are expected to participate with the work programme. There's concerns been raised, that's why Sam's been involved. There's been concerns raised by the work programme provider that you aren't fully participating. So in terms of our obligation to you, we just need to inform you really that then could have an impact on your benefit, and that's what we really want to avoid. You need to participate or there could be an impact on your benefit.
Well, you see, the issue is I was unable to participate because the terms of the agreement, the job seekers agreement states that I only have to provide evidence to the job centre.
No, that's not correct. You need to provide evidence to us in terms of what you've done in the last 2 weeks to look for work and be available for work. But the participation element with the work programme is something separate that you also have to satisfy. You must participate in that programme.
I do agree with you on that. And the job seekers agreement...
Well, as I say, the only thing that I need to then tell you about then is that then, if the work programme collate that evidence to say what it is that you're not doing that they expect you to do, that then could have an impact on your benefit entitlement.
Okay, so could I just state what it says here? It says, I must show I have been actively seeking work every week, every time I attend the job centre.
Yes.
And as for the work programme provider, what they're asking for, it's a request, you see. And I can actually deny that request under my rights to privacy. So there can't actually be any consequences.
In terms of your job search evidence, yes, you need to provide that to ourselves. If you don't want to share that with the work programme provider, then that is okay. But what you have to do is participate in what it is that they are offering to you, because that is mandatory.
That's the thing. I actually keep trying to participate. I do want to participate.
Yeah, the issue I think is that if they are, for example, trying to identify what might be a barrier or a gap in you getting a job, without you then saying to them what it is that you've done so far to get work, it's very difficult for them to confirm that is an actual gap and that is an actual barrier. If you're not sharing with them what your experience of job search has been up to now, they can't really confirm or verify that what it is that they want to put in place is actually needed. So they might send you on something, for example, that you don't need because you haven't given them a full picture. At the end of all this, Mr. Baker, it's a question of they are there to support and help you. They're not trying to put barriers in your way or prevent you from getting your benefit. They are there to try and get you a job, help and support you get into work.
You see, the issue is, I had, this is my second advisor. The first one was great, but this new advisor, she tried to report me on the first day. Now, the issue I've got is, I am actually trying to participate, and as for the private information, I'm not actually obliged to give it. Now, I did do a freedom of information request, and it was suggested that there should be other things to do in order to qualify for participation, and I've been trying my best, asking for other things to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is you need to really speak to your work programme advisor.
See, the issue is already gone to the job centre for the sanction, you see, and They can't actually prove that I'm not trying to participate.
Well, in terms of that, you would need to really be clear, and you know, that's a conversation that you need to have with them. What is it that they're wanting you to do? What is it they're expecting you to do? And if you've got an issue with doing that, then that's something that you need to discuss further. You need to be saying to them why it is that you don't feel that that's appropriate for you. But as I say, this becomes very difficult if then